Greetings, mathematicians. It's time for our next lesson from Module 2. Today, after we write our name and number, of course, we will continue Module 2 by moving into Lesson 13. So Module 2 notes, 2-13. Zoom in a little bit so it's easier to see. In this 13th lesson of Module 2, we are going to review something we did a little bit earlier in the school year. We're going to go back to converting measurements The big change this time is it will be with decimals. Now, I say big change, but that's really not true. It's not a huge change. The processes will be the same. I'm going to show you a slightly different strategy. We're going to use some equations today to help us solve, but we'll get to that in a moment. First of all, if it's lesson 13, that means we need a 10 plus 1, 2, 3 more. So x, I. There's our 13. Lucky number 13. We're going to try to get back to a semi-regular format with this lesson. I know the last few have been a little off. We are going to start, not with vocabulary though, it's not that back to basics. We're going to talk about basic principles. Or, if you want to think about them as big ideas. Now, we've used this once before. Not for the last time. I am going to reference Lesson 1-4. Back in Lesson 1-4, this is the last time we talked about converting measurements. Some of this information was there. There's a huge table about metric measurement conversions and prefixes and things. That part I'm not making a copy again. Please look back to Lesson 1-4 if you need a refresher on that. You should have that in your notes. If not, you're going to want to check with me or with another student or watch 1-4 video to get a copy of that. Okay, the two big ideas we're going to talk about. If we start with a relatively big unit of measurement, let's say a kilometer, and we're going to convert it to something smaller, like a meter. So kilometers, it's kind of similar to a mile, not the same, but similar. Something big like a kilometer to something small, like a meter. We're going to multiply. 1 kilometer is made of 1,000 meters. So for every group of big measurement, every group of kilometers, I'm going to have 1,000 small meters in this case. If I started with the meter, I know it was small a moment ago, but if I'm going from meter to centimeter, I'm getting smaller. I'm breaking it into parts. So that would still count as big to small. In that case, a meter to centimeters, well, there are 100 small centimeters in every meter. Think of the meter strip that we made a while back. We may even be making one of those again in the near future. All right, big to something smaller, you're going to multiply. You have to figure out how many groups you have. Now, if we're going the other way, you start with a small unit, again, let's say a centimeter, but you're going up to a larger form, a larger unit of measure. If you're going from centimeters up to meters, then what happens is you're going to have a lot of centimeters, let's say. Okay, whatever it is, centimeters, inches, feet. You should have quite a few of those. You're going to break them into groups. If you have centimeters, you're going to break them into groups of 100, because every 100 centimeters you can trade in for a meter. When we break things into groups, we are dividing. I know this is always tricky because you're so used to thinking, well, as I multiply, my numbers get bigger. As I divide, my numbers get smaller. And up until this point, that has been true. A lot of times you're going to see that number-wise, that's what will happen here. But the units of measure, big to small, multiply. Small to big, divide. Now, again, there's a little more information I gave you in lesson 1-4, but we're not going to go through that right now. Review that lesson if you need to. Always have your notes so you can look back. Okay. In the next section, let me show you a procedure, a new strategy maybe, that we can use for converting units of measure. Now I'm going to give you a word problem. Please copy this down. I won't make you copy it down more than once though. Okay. Let's see, Jessie has 53 and 5/10 feet of, let's say, wire. Jessie is doing some wiring at home. Jessie has 53 and 5/10 feet of wire. How many inches does she have? So we know how many feet of wire Jessie has. How many inches does she have? Maybe for what she's working on, it's easier to think of the wire in inch sections. So we want to convert that out. All right, step 1. Step 1. You're going to write what you're looking for. There we go. Write what you're looking for. And what you know. It's important to write both pieces. Okay. So in this case, I know that Jessie has 53.5 feet. Well, you know, not feet, but 53.5 feet of wire. And that she needs some number of inches. I don't know how many inches right now. I could put a question mark there, whatever. Why not? Let's go for it. Now it looks like we're playing Mario. We don't know how many inches is the takeaway. That's the piece that we're looking for. So, what am I looking for? How many inches she has. What do I know? She has 53 and 5/10 feet. Okay. Step 2. Okay. For step 2, what we're going to do is write the equivalence. Now, I could have given this to you as a vocab word, but I'm hoping because it has equa in there, we can remember that basically we're writing an expression, an equation, something that's equal that we already know. Write the equivalence on top. Now, what on earth does that mean? Okay. Go ahead and skip 2 lines, 1, 2. Copy what we have from above. 53 and 5/10 feet equals however many inches. We don't know yet. Okay. What we're going to write on top is how many, basically, inches are in a foot, or how many feet are in an inch. And I kind of gave it away by the way I said it, but really, are feet in inches? No. Okay, we should hopefully know by now that a foot is bigger than inches. Inches are smaller, so we have 12 of those, 12 inches in every 1 foot. I wrote feet. That's not helpful. We don't have multiple feet anymore. I think I was looking at that. All right. Now, for step 3. Okay. For step 3, circle what you're trying to find. My goodness, what's that? Circle what you're trying to find and draw an arrow to that unit. I found this suggested online, and I mean, you know how much I love arrows. You know how much I love arrows. So of course I'm going to be all over this. All right. Now, if I know that 1 foot equals 12 inches, if I know that we have 53.5 feet, there we go, I got it right that time, and that equals some number of inches, well, what am I trying to find? I'm trying to find inches. 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 Everything's lined up, so the arrow is moving from foot to inches. Okay, from foot to inches. Now, down here for step 4, slide this up a little bit. Okay, get near the end of the page. We're almost done. I'm going from foot to inches in this case. The arrow shows me that's the way I'm going. I circled what I'm looking for. Putting this out hopefully makes it pretty clear which way I'm going. Now, step 4. Decide. Multiply or divide. Okay. Multiply or divide. Multiply or divide. If I'm going from 1 foot to 12 inches, take a look at this at these two numbers, the 1 and the 12. How am I going to get from 1 to 12? Do I multiply to get from 1 to 12, or do I divide to get from 1 to 12? Okay. I'm going to multiply. It has to get bigger. 1 foot is 12 inches. If it had been the other way around, 12 inches to 1 foot, then I'd be dividing. Think about how you're getting from this to this. I'm not even looking at the word problem part yet. I'm looking at the equivalence. I'm looking at the conversion information that I already hopefully know. By deciding from here to here I multiply, that means from here to here I have to multiply. Okay? Multiply by what? Whatever that number is above it. Whatever that number is above it. So, step 4, decide, multiply or divide, then do it. Okay. By taking a look, there we are, gotta have the bubble letters. By taking a look and saying 1 going to 12, I multiply. Okay. That tells me that from here to here I'm going to multiply. So 53 and 5/10 times 12 equals, my answer is going to equal my answer. Okay. Now, partly because we're out of time, and partly because we've been practicing multiplication, and we will do more in class, I am going to go ahead and just jump to the answer. I'm not going to write the whole thing out. If I multiply this, I should find that my ultimate answer, 53 and 5/10 feet, is equal to 642 inches. Okay. This is my final answer. This is the converted number. These two are equal, they're just different ways of looking at it. We will practice this in class. I also understand that this strategy really depends on you knowing what these conversions are, or equivalences are. Try to use that term. You have to know that 1 foot is 12 inches. You have to know that 1 meter is 100 centimeters. We'll talk about that in class. I'll provide you with some that you need in class. But for now, hopefully this strategy gives you another way to look at this up here. If you're not remembering which unit is bigger and which is smaller, hopefully at least you can remember this part. 1 of this equals how many of that? Or how many of that equals 1 of this? If you have that, you can go from one side to the other and ask, am I multiplying or dividing? Am I multiplying or dividing to get from here to here? All right, we'll do more examples in class. For right now, make sure that I've got the bottom on here again. Please make sure you've copied this down, and if you have any questions, you write them. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you, folks. I will see you in class.